Joe? Joe, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hold on, let me turn you up. Let me turn you up.
Turn me up, turn me up.
There you go.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Where are you? I thought you were going to be here.
I am on a secret mission.
Okay.
Maybe you guys
Operation
can learn
Rue de
later in the
Guerre?
podcast.
Mhm.
I'm in a secret Operation Rue de Guerre. No, folks, I'm in New Jersey. Secret. Okay, there. I
Whoa!
didn't want to
East
say
Coast, baby. Different time
I'm
zone.
coming to you all the way from New Jersey. Here, I'm in the future. I'm 3 hours ahead. It's 9 p.m. But nothing has changed, Brett. I am ready to talk.
What's it like in the
about
future? Did those
some
two
movies.
old fucks just kill each other in that debate, or what's the future like?
In the first minute,
Yeah.
they both pull out guns and take their own lives. It's pretty shocking, actually.
It would honestly be a moment of healing for the nation if they just took each other out.
That'd be great. We could have like a Kennedy-esque funeral, like
Yeah.
give them both like a king's goodbye, and we could all heal and
not to give
move on.
a spoiler, but if they just did like the Bikeriders thing of when people want to challenge Tom Hardy in the Bikeriders, he goes fists or knives.
Fist and knives.
And then if Biden said guns,
yeah, that's good. Fist and knives.
Fists and
How
knives.
was that? Yeah, I like
fists and knives.
When the kid asks him and he's really nonchalant about it, you go, fists or knives.
Fists and knives. I want to die either way. Have you seen what it's like at my house at night?
Knives, okay.
Knives, great. That sounds quicker.
Okay.
I'll die by knife. These aren't spoilers. It's the fucking
well, here's a spoiler. That kid pulls out a gun.
Shut up. That's too much. That's a spoiler.
Like
that's an actual spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
That's too much of a spoiler. That's an actual spoiler.
Whatever. Spoiler
that's
requires
spoiler.
like, hold on, Brett. Spoiler requires like narrative tension to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
By the end of
that's a good
obvious.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's not a spoiler.
You see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter when it happens.
Yeah,
and we'll get into this more later.
Joe, did you see the Nosferatu trailer? Let's stay in the cold. I need cold open energy for like 2 more minutes before I get really turned up. Before I get real turned up for the show. Did you see this Nosferatu trailer?
I had an alert on my phone for the Eggers Nosferatu trailer, Brett.
What does that even mean?
Of course I saw it. That means I was so ready for it.
Okay, yeah.
Well, they had like the day before it was like Eggers trailer drops tomorrow, 3 p.m. or whatever. I'll be there.
Don't let go your Eggers. Make sure you're ready for that trailer to drop. What did you think? What did you think of the Eggers Nosferatu trailer? Was it everything you hoped for? Did it make your little A24 heart explode, you little loser?
Yes. It was everything that I hoped for. He was doing like dark. And I saw a tweet where somebody was putting it with side-by-side comparisons of Coppola's Dracula, which is one of the great
fun.
One of the great, adaptations of that story, let alone any story.
Great,
and I felt like
maximalist Baroque interpretation of the Dracula
exactly.
story.
And then sort of the criticism inherent in the tweet was, look at how colorful and beautiful Coppola's is versus the dour black and whites of Eggers. And I was like, there's a time and a place for the darkness argument. And this is not it.
It's Nosferatu.
That trailer is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's fucking
gorgeous. It looks so good.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I mean, first of all, one funny thing about the trailer, a lot of Lily. Bill's Dracula, though, Bill Skarsgård's Dracula, Brett, buried. That's the only wearing.
Here's the question.
Where is he? Does he stink?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it buried in
a funny voice? Yeah.
Is it buried in post-production anxieties, or is it buried in like an intentional, marketing strategy, or both?
Lily Rose Depp just suffered through, and thank you for dealing with my sort of latency here remotely, but Lily Rose Depp just got off the least liked television program of all time, right? The Idol.
Yep.
The worst reviews ever, and she is featured heavily in this trailer, and she looks excellent. I assume her character's name is Mina, right?
Mina Harker.
She looks great. Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise himself, playing Dracula, ne'er a peep. Brett, it is worth noting.
Here's a word of advice to the marketing team. Pennywise is Nosferatu.
That's good.
Right? Don't mince words about it. Let's not pretend like these characters exist in different universes. Alexander Skarsgård is the new go-to freak of the week, whatever you need. Pennywise is Nosferatu. Butts in seats weekend 1, no questions asked. That because you know what, you get that way. You get all these Stranger Things losers show up week 1. They get then you get that, like, you get the Stranger Things crowd in on Nosferatu. You get the whole thing. Pennywise is Nosferatu.
That's smart.
That's just butts in seats marketing right there.
That's free butts right there. But Brett, can I say one more thing about the trailer?
Please.
Not only was I relieved that it just looks dark and excellent and grand, in its way, and very Eggersy, but still looks wonderful. I was thrilled, Brett, to see the rats, because when my Nosferatu,
that's Herzog.
When my Nosferatu doesn't have rats,
yep.
Then pass. It has to have the rats. It's such a big part of the Nosferatu thing in my head.
Joe, this is so important because I think when I saw the rats, I was like, oh, I don't think he's remaking the original Nosferatu. I think he's remaking Herzog's Nosferatu, which makes me very fucking excited because Herzog's Nosferatu has the ultimate rat scene, the rat scene to end all rat scenes. That's the smart move, because the also, like, the thing that no one wants to say because we're all like, we're all sort of in awe of film history or whatever. The original Nosferatu is not a banger. It's like it is a very, there's like 3 scenes in it that crush. With Nosferatu's hand on the wall, the shadow on the wall. There's like 3 scenes that crush.
Right. He's like in the Demeter, and he comes.
Let's be honest. There's a lot that part rules. There's a lot you have to slog through, and not in the original Nosferatu. There's a lot of just silent moviness that you have to slog through. It's not Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or Metropolis. It's not at like the, it created German Expressionism. It's not the peak of German Expressionism. There's a lot you got to slog through, whereas Herzog's Nosferatu is fucking peak. That movie is fantastic. So if Eggers is taking more cues from Herzog than from Murnau, we're in good shape. I like where we're at. That might be that. I don't know if I should have said that on the program. That almost felt like a basement take, which is our after show on Patreon. But we'll tell you more about that later. Why don't we get to the show, Joe? What do you think?
Can't wait.
This week on Movies, baby! Vroom, vroom, vroom! We're reviewing new releases, The Bikeriders, Kinds of Kindness, and The Exorcism, plus a new segment. Maybe. Stay tuned. Joe, are you ready?
You know it.
Oh, then Margot, roll that theme song. There it is. Oh, yes. Will Joe be synced up in Jersey Shore? We'll find out. I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. But how about you? Do you have it bad too? Whenever one ends, it's like the death of a friend. I get to wishing that there were 2 more reels. And then a voice cries out, move, baby, you're in my seat and you don't want to mess with who? The Jersey Shore movie freak.
I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Hey, how about you?
Yes.
Oh, I got it bad.
He's got it bad
I
too.
Hope I'm on beat.
You're not.
Every night of the year,
yes,
like the moon I appear.
Hell yeah!
Like all the movie theaters all over town. Cut to black. Roll credits. I'm lost in a fog. I need someone to talk to. Georgia movie dog.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
Enough movies, baby.
I can't get enough movies.
Yeah!
Hey, welcome to Movies, Baby, your favorite show with Brett and Joe, where we do the movies and we prophesy the future of Hollywood live from the Jersey Shore. We're talking about the movies. My name, as always, is Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly movie freak, here with my buddy Brett Bowen, the Georgia movie dog.
Oh, go dogs. We'll fix that. We'll sync that up in post. Joe, I gotta say, we say we prophesy the future of Hollywood. And we've been reading the tea leaves lately. I tell you what, we're earning a PhD in box officeology because you can learn a lot from the money. And I don't want to reduce all of this to commerce and finance and all of that. But I tell you what, you can learn a lot from the weekly box office. And speaking of that, Margaret, let's look at the money. Let's look at what happened this week because I got some things to say and I got some things to point out. Holy shit! Okay,
wow.
Joe, what the fuck is that number next to Inside Out 2 week 2? Is that over 100?
It's 101.
What the hell is going on?
That's insane, Brett.
Is Inside Out 2 saving the movies? I thought we were done. You remember
so much.
You remember Furiosa Garfield? That was like 3 weeks ago. We were like, oh no, people aren't coming out to the movies anymore. We might have missed it. This is all done, gone for. Nope. It all goes in cycles, baby. It all goes in cycles. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that Inside Out 2 is doing this well. We knew it was going to be big. I didn't know it was going to be this big.
It made as much this weekend. Inside Out 2 made as much this weekend, almost as much as If has made its entire run domestically.
Oh yeah.
That's in its second weekend. So listen to
some of these facts. Okay, we know last week we said it was the second biggest animated opening of all time after Incredibles 2. Holy shit! Then weekend 2, it somehow eclipses weekend 1. This was the biggest second weekend for an animated movie ever, beating last year's Super Mario Brothers movie by I think like 10-15 million. This is the biggest second weekend ever for an animated movie ever. And the drop was only a 35% drop off from week 1. That is better. 35% drop off is better than Avengers Endgame and Force Awakens.
What?
Yes. Avengers Endgame had a 59% drop off. Force Awakens had a 40% drop off. This had significantly less of a drop off than Force Awakens and Avengers Endgame. That's fucking crazy. Now, a big thing there's a couple reasons here. Number one, we all needed like a big fucking unifying Pixar kids movie that the adults could go to, the kids could go to, everybody could go to. We were in need of it, in desperate need of it. The other thing that has been pointed out as a cause, and at first I was like, no, we're just looking for reasons. But then I was like, maybe. People are saying a big reason behind this was the weather, because you had this combination of a massive heat wave and like a lot of rain and inclement weather. So every inch of this country, every inch from the Pacific Northwest to the Southwest, to the South, to the Northeast, to New England, every part of this country either had like a heat wave or like crazy rain and inclement weather last weekend. And so people are pointing to that as a reason why everyone decided like, hey, let's go to the movies, either for the air conditioning or because we can't go outside right now. And so it was.
I hope that's true. I think with our climate future, maybe movies is the best business to be in, Brett.
Guys, maybe this climate disaster isn't such a bad thing. Maybe the climate disaster will save the movies.
Maybe Hollywood made this climate disaster, maybe they're a step ahead.
Now you're talking. Maybe the thing that will drive us all, maybe this all ends with us all just sort of, just sort of shuffling into movie theaters as the waters like climb up, as the waters like lap up at the edge of the movie theater. Maybe this is what does it. Maybe there was
that scene in Furiosa when they all rolled up to a 8 p.m. screening of Walter Mitty.
Yeah.
So maybe that was sort of indicative of where we are.
Walter Mitty. What if we were doing this show when Walter Mitty came out? What a week.
We'd have to be honest.
What a week that would have been. So, look, it's going to have, and look, we're not done, okay? This is like, the Inside Out 2 is staking a claim for like a historically big run. It's going to have another big weekend this weekend with the holiday. It will, I'm going to say, easily beat this week's 2 new releases, Quiet Place Day 1 and Horizon. Quiet Place Day 1 is predicted is trending towards like 40 plus. Horizon,
it's getting good reviews.
Yeah, people. Joe, I'm sorry to break this to you. Horizon, which I know you're very excited about. People are worried that Horizon's not going to break double digits this weekend. Is
double digits
is the
like
word like
$80?
It's not going to make 10. No, it's not going to make like 10 million. It's going to have like smaller than Bikeriders opening. Is the word? We'll
That's
see.
bad news for me. That's much worse news for Kevin Costner.
Really bad news for Kevin Costner, who mortgaged his entire life, literally mortgaged his house and figuratively mortgaged his entire life and family to make Horizons Chapter 1.
I'll be there.
Look, maybe Chapter 2 will have a big opening. I don't know. But Chapter 1 is not trending towards a big opening. Maybe don't alienate your Yellowstone. Maybe save the announcement that you're not coming back for Yellowstone until after Horizon opens. I don't know. Just a thought. I honestly don't care what happens to you. But Inside Out 2 is going to have another huge week. It's already the biggest movie of the year after 2 weeks. It already eclipsed Dune. I didn't know it was going to I knew it was going to happen.
Wow.
I didn't know it was going to happen this soon. It's already the biggest movie of the year. It's going to stay number one for another week, and then the week after it'll get dethroned by Despicable Me 4. My prediction is Despicable Me 4 is going to be the biggest movie of the year, but I don't know at this point.
That seemed like a good idea last week, but
now I don't know.
Now, after seeing these week 2 returns, that is extraordinarily.
But maybe
difficult
Inside Out 2 is just priming people. Look, people don't like go to Inside Out 2 and then like call it a quits for the year. Right, movies set up for other movies. So I think maybe Inside Out 2, this big release, is going to help Despicable Me 4. I think people are going to be like, wow, that worked out great. We got 2 hours in the air conditioning where the kids weren't driving us crazy. More of that, please. And then here comes Despicable Me 4. So I think Despicable Me 4 is going to still end up to be the biggest movie of the year, but we'll see. Let's look at Margaret, if we can bring that back up for a second, because there's a couple other things I want to point out. This was a very, very interesting week, and there's a lot of ongoing trends we've been talking about. So Bikeriders was the biggest new release of the week. It made 10 million domestic, another 4 million in international markets for 14 million total, off of a like $30 to $40 million budget. This is being considered a success in the industry. It's being considered that it overperformed. This is a good sign, and it's continuing the trend of this sort of mid-market indie revival that we've seen this year, where some of the most profitable movies have been Challengers, Civil War, and people are now adding Bikeriders to that list. It's not going to be quite as lucrative as those or as big as those, but it's still going to make its money back. It's a wide release art house movie, and so for that, for a wide release art house movie to do 10 million opening weekend domestic is pretty good. And this is also a success story for independent production companies, because Bikeriders was originally supposed to be released by 20th Century last year, but then got dropped from their calendar because of the strikes and this and that. And then Focus Features picked it up on the cheap, and now they're cashing in on it, which is the same thing that we saw happen with Monkey Man, where Netflix dropped it, and then Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw plus Universal picked it up and cashed in on that on the cheap as well. So we've got some interesting trends here where these sort of mid-market indies are doing really well this year, which is fantastic for the movies. It's really good. Like, under $30 million budgets, you put a lot of money into the marketing, and then they're making it back. So this is a really good sign. I hope that means we're going to get more of those type of movies, even though I did not like Challenger, Civil War, or, as you're going to find out, the Bikeriders. But guess what? It don't matter. I don't have to like a movie to like the trend that movie represents. More, please. Even if I don't like the individual movies, more of those type of movies, please. Another thing going on that we saw with Thelma this week, which is this like very indie June Squibb starring release, is Magnolia Pictures, which released Thelma, seems to be picking up on the sort of trend that Neon and IFC are riding, which we saw Neon and IFC both had their biggest releases ever this year. And so Magnolia put a lot of marketing dollars into a June Squibb-led indie. I mean, this is unbelievable. And I love it. I support it. But let's look at the facts relative to the way the movie industry usually works. June Squibb is in her 90s. She's in her 90s. She is leading a movie movie. It is a underdog indie, and Magnolia took this movie seriously. They gave it a real budget. They gave it a real marketing budget, and it made Margaret, if we can see those results again, I think it made like 2 or 3 million this weekend. Yeah, there it is, like right under. Look, it's right under The Exorcism.
Yeah, it did 1,000 less screens, and it did as much as The Exorcism.
So I love this. Magnolia is following the cues of Neon IFC. These indie companies are seeing an opportunity here, and I fucking love it. They are seeing a future for themselves where a lot of the, big studios are kind of floundering in terms of how to make like big movies, and meanwhile the independent companies are really sort of seeing this opportunity arise where they can put more money into their releases and get a bigger return from them. So I love it. Kinds of Kindness, which we'll talk about, had a massive per screen. Look at this per screen, Joe. This was the biggest per screen of the year. Kinds of Kindness.
My theater was
look at this.
Bumping.
Look, the per
5 screens. The per screen was $75,000.
75 per screen. That's insane. That's the biggest per screen of the year, bigger than any of the massive studio releases. So Kinds of Kindness did
good for him.
Massive per screen, with like, I mean, not a huge marketing. It was like selective marketing. Yeah.
Just like we were talking about how on Challengers, the picture of Josh and Mike, kissing Zendaya was an entire marketing thing.
Emma Stone dancing.
Better at the Emma Stone dancing.
Emma Stone dancing was the marketing.
It just hit a level of viral. And I don't know about your theater, but when that part happened in the movie, everybody was so excited because they were waiting for that song and that dance.
Oh,
and
cool. Were they still?
That was the whole. They were still there.
That's all. They were still awake at that point. They were still awake when she started dancing. Because as I will tell you, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and tease it now, Joe.
Yeah,
there was at my Kinds, and to be fair, I saw Kinds of Kindness. I saw a 10 o'clock screening of a 3-hour movie, so
it's too long.
So up in the air. There was a guy at my Kinds of Kindness screening that fell asleep at the hour mark, and started snoring, and I'm not kidding you. He slept and snored for the final 2 hours of the movie. I watched the last 2 hours of Kinds of Kindness with this in the background.
No. Nobody nudged him awake.
I kind of loved it. I was envious. I wish I had fallen asleep in that movie. And
you really didn't like it that much.
I think my dreams would have been more interesting than the movie. Look, we're going to talk about this. This is going to be the theme of tonight for me, is that I want more Bikeriders. I want more Kinds of Kindness. I want more of these type of movies. I like the trends that they're representing financially in the industry. I thought both movies sucked, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay, great.
One more financial trend I want to look at. Real quick. Look at this, Joe. This is going to blow your mind. Look at what we see at number 13, okay? Our indie movie we talked about, I Saw the TV Glow. Look at that plus. Look at that fucking plus. Do you see that? Do you see that?
They put it on 45 less screens,
yes,
but it made 225% more dollars week over week in its 8th week running. Now, why was this? Is it because of the VOD release?
So here,
juice?
Yeah. I looked it up. No one's talking about this. So I think we have the exclusive take on this. I'm going to tell you exactly what is happening with this I Saw the TV Glow. Like, what are we talking about? Week 5, 6 resurgence that it had?
8.
Week 8. This less screens, it's almost out of theaters, and then had this massive resurgence of interest and money for live screenings. Here's what's happening, and this is a message to all the fucking streamers and to Hollywood, okay? Theatrical releases and streaming is a symbiotic relationship. It is not at odds with each other, okay? Because here's what happened with I Saw the TV Glow, and here's why it made this extra bonus fucking $1 million in week 8, is because I Saw the TV Glow came out on VOD recently, right? And then what happened? I saw it happen in real time. On social media, suddenly there's this resurgence of interest in I Saw the TV Glow because people that did not watch it in theaters are now watching on video on demand. And suddenly there is this second wave of I Saw the TV Glow people being like, oh, this movie's great, it does this, it's so unique, it's such an interesting vision, blah, like, et cetera, et cetera. And it doesn't matter if you agree with that or not. Joe and I both thought the movie was like a little underwhelming. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? This is an incredible director with an incredible vision, Jane Schoenbrunn, who needs to make a lot more movies. And so what happened is this resurgence of interest, word of mouth interest that came through the VOD release, then cycled back into a theatrical audience. That people are seeing this on social and they're looking at what's out in theaters and like, oh, this movie's still in theaters, I'll go see it in theaters. And so it has this resurgence of interest in theaters that's driven by the VOD release via social. Streaming VOD and theatrical releases, symbiotic, not at odds with each other. We need to stop thinking that these things are at odds with each other, that somehow a theatrical release is going to diminish Netflix subscribers or something like that. It's fucking insane. And it just keeps getting disproven and disproven over and over by concrete metrics that we see. That the number one reason for that I Saw the TV Glow resurgence is because the VOD release incited this re-interest in the movie, and it was still, if it had not, like, imagine if if they did what Netflix does and the movie was not in theaters when this resurgence happened, you just threw away $1 million for a movie that has that whose budget is nothing, right? You just burned $1 million if that movie's still not in theaters. But because that movie is still in theaters, you made a fucking $1 million out of thin air, out of fucking thin air. Symbiotic relationship, okay? Not at odds with each other.
Good speech.
What else do I have to say to these fucking people?
I don't know, Brett.
Maybe I should have their job. What's going on here?
Maybe you will. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe you will.
Joe, can I talk about Inside Out 2 for a second?
Are you kidding me? We have 3 movies to get to, and you want to harp on Inside Out 2?
Should we save it? Let's save us for the end. No, let's save it for the end. 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 Okay. I got more to say about Inside Out 2. I said a lot last week. I got a lot of blowback. Let's save it for the end. Let's save it for the end.
All right, we'll save it for the end.
Okay.
Look, we'll zip through these 3 stinkers, okay? No, I'm kidding.
Let's start with Bikeriders, the biggest new release of the week. Jeff Nichols' Indio tour is used to working on very micro budgets. He has worked closely with Michael Shannon, who has a part in Bikeriders. He made movies like Shotgun Stories, Take Shelter, which is amazing, Mud with Matthew McConaughey, which I love, Midnight Special, really underrated indie. Last year, Loving, got Academy Award nomination. I think that's what sort of put him in a position to take this step up. Did you know that Jeff Nichols? Here's some things before we get into the movie itself. Because this is a classic case of I love the trends that this movie represents, whereas not liking the movie that itself that much. But let's quickly talk about sort of the trends around the movie. Do you know that Nichols was supposed to direct Quiet Place Day One, and he dropped out to direct Bikeriders?
I did not.
Isn't that crazy?
Time will tell.
I fucking love it. I love it though.
Tomorrow we'll know if that was a good idea or not.
It will turn out to be a good, regardless of what Quiet Place Day One does. Bikeriders has already been sort of acknowledged as like a successful indie. And so like regardless of how Quiet Place Day One does, I think he won the wager. But I love it anyway. I love that he dropped out of Quiet Place Day One like a paycheck movie. He's like, I'm not going to do Krasinski's trilogy. I love this fucking photo book from the 60s, all about motorcycle riders. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do another passion project, but I have enough cachet to get a budget, to get a cast, to get fucking Austin Butler, the hottest guy on the planet, to be in it. I love that he bet on himself. I love that he bet on an indie. I did not enjoy the movie, which we'll talk about, but that doesn't matter because I like the trends that it represents, and I hope that this, the Jeff Nichols trajectory continues unabated after this. Joe, tell me what you thought about Bikeriders.
No, yes, and we want Jeff to succeed, but
we're rooting for you.
Let's talk about
Jeff.
Bikeriders. So here's what happened. Brett's right. Jeff Nichols, Southern auteur, our Faulkner, he found this photo book of these 60s and 70s biker collective, a bike group, and he found those pictures to be very human, and he wanted to tell those stories, which I think is awesome. Because Brett, one of my favorite subgenres of movies is biker movies. In fact, me and some of our buddies, I was just talking about a couple of weeks ago how I'd love to see, we were kind of getting hyped for Bikeriders, talking about how we hope this inspires some sort of return to biker movies and all of the cool things about them. So what I'm saying is this is well-trod territory in cinema, not in a bad way, but there's a tradition of bike movies in America, and this is our most recent entry in that tradition. So there's so much to build upon. So you expect it to be good. So what does this movie sort of focus on? It sort of follows the first hour is sort of the rise of these biker groups and sort of the communities they come from, the working class communities in the Midwest that Jeff is focusing on. And then in the second hour, it focuses on the decline of these biker groups as people come back from Vietnam and the culture shifts and these groups get co-opted by different factions and turn into gangs, and how violence is almost inevitable in these cultures. And that's what the narrative arc of the picture has.
That's what the movie wants to do. That almost sounds like the press release, though. Does it actually do any of that?
I think it does those things. It just doesn't do them with any narrative thrust. So just to kind of step back 1 second. So this, just so if folks don't know, this movie has 3 leads. It has Jodie Comer from Killing Eve play the Midwest narrator.
Marge Gunderson mob wife is what she's doing. She's doing like Fargo meets mob wife.
So Mike Feist from West Side Story and Challengers is interviewing Jodie Comer, is the frame narrative, and Judy is telling about the boys and the bikes. And Austin Butler plays.
I go to this bar and I'm like, what are these guys? Who are these bike riders here? And I'm like,
who are these guys?
Who are these bike riders? And I'm like, these guys are crazy. These guys are crazy, but this guy's really hot. This guy's fucking sexy. So I think I'm going to marry this guy and they're going to be part of this lifestyle. And maybe it's going to be fine or maybe not. I don't know.
Wow, you actually that was very good.
It's pretty good, right?
That's kind of exactly what happens. And this
I can do impressions of the 3 leads if you want. That's Jodie Comer.
I do want.
Feel free to summon Tom Hardy or Austin Butler whenever you want.
Hardy is right up in a couple sentences.
Okay, so, good.
Jodie gets brought to the biker club gang by her friend, and she sees Austin Butler, who looks fucking cool and hot as shit. He's James Dean, folks, with a little bit of an edge. He's good, so he looks great, and she falls for him, and they get married quickly.
He's so hot that I want to forgive Jeff Nichols for this. Austin Butler is so hot that his hotness is supposed to serve as a plot point. It's supposed to where you would normally have to explain the chemistry between 2 people. He just assumes that you understand. Right. He just assumes that you understand why Jodie Comer gives up her entire life to sacrifices her entire life and future to be part of Austin Butler's motorcycle gang solely because of how hot he is. That's kind of what you're supposed to believe. And to be fair, I almost believe it, but I would love if there was a little bit of story along with it.
You kind of buy it, but she jumps into marriage with him very quickly. And then we meet more of the guys in the group. This includes Tom Hardy, who plays the leader and founder of the group. A man who was inspired, by Marlon Brando in, oh my gosh, what's the famous movie?
The Wild Ones.
Thank you very much, of course. In The Wild Ones.
And he's actually watching that movie in the beginning. That's what inspires him to start the motorcycle gang, which this is all apparently based on true events and true stories.
And I like that piece of authenticity. Yeah. That he's literally copying Brando in the Wild Ones, and he puts this group together. And Tom Hardy, Brett, go ahead, please do it for us, is giving his silliest work, his silliest accent yet. I almost I almost thought for a second that like the screen was going to flash for a second and we were going to see Andy Serkis covered in tennis balls doing Tom Hardy. It was almost like if Andy Serkis did a mocap version of Tom Hardy is the character, because it's just it's like Gollum. He's a Gollum. He's like a little Gollum motorcycle. Well, you gotta burn it. You gotta burn it down. You gotta burn the bar down. I don't know. We gotta burn the bar down. He's just very Popeye.
It's like Popeye Gollum meets Bane.
Gollum.
Yes.
meets the Joker meets
yes. It is
Tom Hardy.
The three leads, Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy, are each giving singularly bizarre performances that don't seem like they're in the same movie, and I don't blame them for it, because that's actors gonna act. It's like the actors are acting, but
I think that their gigantic swings are kind of the saving grace.
They kind of are the only thing that are interesting, but it also is, it's the saving grace in terms of just like not falling asleep in the movie, but it is also the doom in terms of nobody seems like they're in the same movie, and nobody seems like they're on the same wavelength.
It also feels like they all read the script and they all looked at each other like, oh man, we really gotta kind of dress this up, because this is dry.
Yeah.
This is dry. Because here's the problem with the movie. Jeff Nichols takes this very interesting American familiar arc, an arc that would remind you of Goodfellas, right? It's a gangster rise and fall, but with a bike gang. Good idea. And he shoots it, I think, very lovingly, with like empathy, and crafts a lot of lovely imagery. I think the movie's very elegant and soft, just like I assume what he's trying to communicate thematically about masculinity and about America. But the problem is,
that's generous,
that ultimately these pretty images and these pretty actors and their big swings are a lot of sound and fury. Because this movie goes nowhere, does nothing interesting, never ever is ambitious or tries to surprise you. It just plays the beats, and it plays them in a muted, minor sense. The movie is incredibly boring. It's incredibly disappointing, and it's also not emotionally affecting at all. What could be more emotional than father figures and Vietnam?
It's all there.
And Easy Rider, and with a great director behind the camera and actors willing to go there, and bikes, and Michael Shannon giving monologues. And he's so interested in this photo book that he found. I don't know, Jeff. It seems like you didn't really know how to communicate what you wanted to say, because this movie is dry, and I'd recommend it to nobody.
It's a movie that like refuses to be a movie, and I don't understand why. All of the elements are there, but this movie constantly like de-escalates itself. It constantly like avoids its sources of tension and dynamics and things like where a movie would usually like lean into and go towards. This movie weirdly sort of shies away from. It never digs into character motivation, but it also doesn't make a point of like avoiding these things as though it's some sort of exercise in minimalism. And so you're just left with that famous Gertrude Stein quote, there's no there. There's no movie in this movie. There's nothing like cinema. There's nothing here. And there's 100 examples. I will try to avoid spoilers here, but like
I already buy.
You already like
spoiled the entire movie at the top. I'm sorry, everyone.
Like, here's a couple examples of what I'm talking about. There's a moment where there is an attempted rape of like a main character in the movie. And in my head, I'm going, oh fuck, here we go. This is you just like, these guys fucked with the like, now it's all gonna fucking like I had that moment 3 or 4 times in the movie where I was like, here we go, it's about to escalate. And then the movie like ignores its own plot. It like doesn't like follow its own. It's like this like attempted rape of a main character, which should be like a real climactic turning point in the movie, ends up being this plot point that the movie almost tries to like forget happened. And I don't know if it's because it's a case of Jeff Nichols being like weirdly precious about the source material or something, where it's like, just make the movie. Like, the source material is there. You got the leather jackets, they look like the people in the photos. You don't have to like over obsess about the source material. I don't know if that's what it is, but for whatever reason, this movie constantly avoided its own plot in a way. There were moments moments
I
where
know,
like
and it thinks it's doing so admirably.
Yes.
It thinks it's doing so interestingly, so that we all walk away and are like, "Oh, it was supposed to not really matter because it didn't really matter."
But it did not play that card either.
But that is just like a fake.
Either.
That's just like a fake
Yeah.
thought that you should have. That's not how it feels at all when you're watching it.
And to the people who I saw a couple people online saying this movie was like had like queer themes and this and that. This is
every fucking movie.
Yes, thank you.
Queer.
This
Fuck
is a
you.
this is a bigger issue now, which is like this is 2024. Okay, we are not in the Douglas Sirk era of filmmaking.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
If you have queer themes, have queer themes. Okay, we don't need to be in this fucking like world where we're like, oh, there's like a slight homoeroticism. Like you can
these
like,
boys
if you
are
wanna,
friends.
yeah, if you want to have queer themes, have queer themes. This movie does not have queer themes. Okay, if you want to like read deep into it, you might find them.
That's everything.
But it's 2024. This movie can be queer if it wanted to, and it didn't want to. So you don't have to like.
Men.
You do not like. That is such a like audience bailing out the filmmaker kind of thing, where it's like you're trying to find stuff that's not there. And again, this is not like you're not Douglas Sirk or George Cukor trying to like not get blacklisted. Like if you want to have queer themes in the movie, do it. And this movie doesn't, so it shouldn't get credit for it. But guess what? It should have, because it's right there. It's right there, and the movie doesn't do it, so it doesn't get credit for not doing it. Right? Like what you're responding to is the fact that it's like there and it's latent, but don't give the movie credit for not making the implicit explicit, because it's 2024. We don't have to play that fucking game anymore.
But Brett, it's not even implicit. That's just such a reach. That's such a fucking That's just such a bailout. Like Austin Butler's eyes are big and the boys enjoy each other's company does not a queer film make. I'm sorry, folks.
Thank you. But my point is there were multiple varieties of like a love triangle that were like right there at the edge of the movie that could have, and look, this is one example, I'm talking off the top of my head, but that's like a love triangle is like one thing that could have really sort of given this movie like a dramatic engine, and weirdly the movie like avoids it, and it's like right there, either a homosexual or heterosexual love triangle, or bi, or some version of a love triangle is like literally, if you watch the movie, it's right there, and the movie like weirdly doesn't go there, and I don't know why, because the movie is in desperate need of some central dramatic tension and engine, and it avoids it at all costs in favor of this sort of like loose style, and I don't get it. And again, there's no movie in this movie is my big problem with it. And there's all the elements of a movie, but there's no like essential movie here. And another example,
it's a total bummer. Oh, sorry, Brett, go ahead.
Well, this is another weird one. And like I Googled this relentlessly to make sure I wasn't missing anything. All right, Joe. So halfway through the movie, this guy from California shows up called Sonny. And it's played by Norman Reedus, and he looks amazing. He looks crazy. And he's from a California biker gang. And he shows up in the Midwest. This is a Midwest biker gang, the Vandals, which is based on actual biker gang, the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, which is like the first motorcycle club in America that the Hells Angels and everything else came from. So this guy named Sonny shows up, and he's like, I'm from a new California biker gang, and I came here because I heard that there's this guy here that ran away from our club to join your club, and I came here to track him down and fuck him up. You remember this scene?
Yes.
And in my head immediately, I go, based on the name and the way he looked, I was like, oh shit, this is Sonny Barger, the guy that founded the Hells Angels. Here we fucking go. And again, it's another moment. This happened 3 or 4 times where I'm like, here we fucking go. We got some fucking tension in this movie. It's going to be Hells Angels versus the Vandals. And now we got the fucking Act 2 go. And I was so excited. And then a second later, this Sonny guy was like, I'm just kidding. And then like the scene like diffuses. And I was like, oh, you like actually were kidding? Like that's not like you didn't come here to like fuck this guy up, and so you're just here to like hang out? and then he's just there to sort of hang out. And then at the very end of the movie, when they do the Animal House flash forward where it was like this guy became this and this guy did this. They were like Sonny and then like Funny Sonny, they call him Funny Sonny, was used to like promote Easy Rider, and like he has some like throwaway flash forward, and I was like, so that's not Sonny Barger? Like what? It was just another example of like, so what the fuck is this guy doing in this movie? Like I'm trying. I'm trying to like make this movie work in my head. I'm on your side. Why do you refuse to do anything that's like cinematic or heightened or interesting or like it's just like
it's weird.
Why isn't that Sonny Barger? And why don't we have a conflict between the Hells Angels and the fucking Veil? I don't care if it didn't actually happen. This is a fucking movie.
It's a puzzle, and it's not like
so weird.
It settled into my body and mind as the week went on. I saw this 7 days ago. It's not like I like was driving and it flitted through my head again, and the images all coalesced to make some point. It really was just kind of a miss. And Brett's right that it just had so many avenues to take advantage of, whether it manifests in love or violence or some sort of conflict, but the movie chose none of those things.
Yes.
And Brett, the real bad news for you is this is on your fantasy draft.
Oh fuck! I drafted this movie.
That's the bad news.
This movie.
I thought it was a great draft pick. I mean,
I thought it was
all the pieces.
I honestly thought it was like, because it was like my round 3 pick. I thought I had just picked up Giannis in late. Like I thought I just had like a late round, like absolute fucking banger pick. I thought I had really done good work here, but joke's on me, pie on my face.
So for new listeners, just to throw it out there, at the beginning of this year, Brett and I drafted out of all the movies coming out. We each picked our draft teams. We went back and forth picking movies that we think that we were going to love. We're going to rate them out of 10. We have to be honest. We're going to add up all the points at the end of the year and see who wins the 2024 fantasy draft. Brett chose
and right now, let's get a score update. All right, so right now, it is I have 16 points off of Monkey Man and I Saw the TV Glow, 16 out of a total 20. And then you have 14 point you have 14.5 out of a total 20 off of Civil War and Furiosa. So it's 16 to 14.5. My third movie has come up to be rated, Bikeriders. Joe, I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. This is a 2 out of 5 for me. This was not a good movie.
Brett, I gave this one a 2.5. A 2.5.
Thank you for the mercy. Thank you for that extra 0.5. So
not mercy, Brett.
That's
That's honesty.
That's
honesty.
2.5 out of 5. We're honest. Yeah. So that's a 4.5 total. So that gives you a real opening here, because that puts me up at 20.5 for 3 movies, and you're at 14.5 for 2 movies. So this gives you a real opening. You've got, I believe next week we're going to review Janet Planet, the Annie Baker directed Janet Planet. I think
that's the plan.
Joe, here's why you're in a good position. I could not be more primed for just a fucking heartbreaking indie right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's been too much of these bloated, bigger budget things. I am primed and ready for Janet Planet. I think you're in a good position to catch up on Janet Planet and maybe eclipse me after 3 movies total on each side.
Man.
Oh, fuck Bikeriders. What happened? You know what? All right, I'm going to sum up Bikeriders this and then we'll move on. There is a pull quote they are using in the trailer. And I looked this up because I was like, I had this thought while I was watching the movie. I was like, yeah, it's not easy to be Scorsese. It's harder than it looks. He makes it look easy. He makes Goodfellas look easy. It's not that easy. And then I saw this pull quote in the trailer from IndieWire, the reliable IndieWire, that said that this is Goodfellas on Harley Davidsons. And I was like, IndieWire, fuck off. No, it's not. It wants to be that. But Joe, here we go, okay? So fucking Bikeriders, they put Goodfellas on Harley Davidsons in the trailer. I went up and I Googled it, I found the review.
Okay.
And the review literally says, Bikeriders is Goodfellas on Harley Davidsons, ... until it stalls out.
There you go.
They put that in the fucking trailer. That's wild. That's some like Michael Bay fucking hijinks there. And honestly, good for you. I like the only good thing about Bikeriders is that like indie movies are like starting to figure it out. They're starting to like play dirty, play the tricks, play the angles. I love it, but like, let's keep the movies good. How about we do both? What do you say?
Brett,
What do we
do the
say?
tricks, play the angles. The movie stars the world's biggest movie star, Tom Hardy, Judy Comer, and it's about bikes. You know, it's
Yeah, yep, yep, yep.
this movie is such a miss. I am
It's a
so
miss.
sad
It's a
that it
miss,
was such
guys.
a miss.
Look, I said it once. I want to say it one more time before we move on because this is a big thing for me. Like, guys, on social everywhere, I understand the impulse. Stop giving these movies credit for queerness if they're not like explicitly queer. It's 2024, okay? We're past the era of subtext. Like, we're past the era of like Douglas Sirk is going to get fired if he makes the subtext text. We're past that. Stop giving these movies credit for actually like for in fact not being queer when like they're not doing it. Stop giving them credit for doing something they're not doing. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Can we get into Kinds of Kindness?
Joe, tell me why you like this movie. You told me you liked this. Tell me why you like this movie.
All right, so Kinds of Kindness, Yorgos Lanthimos' first film after his award-winning 10 times over film
Poor Things,
where Emma Stone
Poor me for having to watch it.
Plays the now famous character Bella Baxter in a Frankenstein story of finding her sexual expression. Though Brett and I very, very much dislike Poor Things, it's a single idea passionately communicated. It's a lame idea of a child, but it's still passionately communicated. It's also very sweet, even though prudes will tell you it's like crass because of nudity or some nonsense. But like, really, it's whatever. That's not the point. The point is that Poor Things is like a cohesive concept, and it's also rather endearing and sweet and optimistic and uplifting. Kinds of Kindness is sort of the reaction to that. It's sort of the Yorgos going, no, 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 I'm not a nice guy that
I'm
cares
a bad
about
boy.
Female sexual liberation. I'm a kooky, crazy guy.
I'm fucked up.
Remember Dogtooth? How weird that fucking shit was. Now, how about this? I'm gonna make a weirdest movie you ever seen. It's so what this movie is it's three movies that have a same cast: Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and others, Hung Chow, etc. Then each one, they all take place in New Orleans, and there's three different stories, and the stories focus on control, duplicity, sexuality, um, cults, all different things about power and sex and how those things are intertwined. We get cannibalism, we get group sex, we get murder, we get all sorts of kooky, crazy stuff. There is like a general sort of thematic throughs that pocket each of the three shorts. So it's three shorts in a row, essentially. It's 3 hours long. And they all sort of thematically tie together. I hate Yorgos Lanthimos. I am not a fan of his films. I like The Favorite, but really, other than that, I find his version of, please excuse me, like a Brechtian abstraction to be dreadfully childish and unineffective as a storytelling device. And what I mean by that is his characters speak, they're in heightened situations, but speak with sort of this subdued monotone that suggests comedy. But really what it is it suggests to me that, like I always say, that Yorgos doesn't have the courage of his convictions, and neither do his characters, where they can flit through this crazy, zany world, but act totally nonchalant and act as if they're unaffected, or act as sort of these vessels that take us through Yorgos's crazy mind, and they just get to be funny because they're so droll. Anyway, in Kinds of Kindness, I kind of liked it. Here's why I kind of liked it. First of all, it's not funny. He thinks he's very funny, and he thinks he's very sharp, and he thinks he has a lot of insight into sexuality and into the world. But actually, I think he's just like kind of a normal guy with normal opinions about the world. Like, the world is kooky crazy, and sex is exciting and of interest. But I really don't think he has a lot of deeper sort of ideas about people and stuff. Like, power is a thing that he is obsessed with, and he uses it in kinds of kindness to, to drive the narrative. Anyway, why I liked it was this. Number one, Jesse Plemons gives a really, really good performance, I think. He plays three versions of the same kind of guy in this movie, and each one is completely and totally unique and different in exciting ways. And I don't know how he does it. He plays the monotonous, droll Yorgos lead, like Colin Farrell did in The Lobster. And I love Colin Farrell, but he stinks in The Lobster and The Lobster stinks. But Jesse Plemons is able to like find all this nuance in Yorgos's stupid frame, much like Ray Fiennes finds nuance and movement in Wes Anderson's beautiful stupid frames in the Grand Budapest Hotel. But Plemons is number one. Number two, Brett, like I just saw the Bikeriders, and then I saw Kinds of Kindness, and I just had to kind of be like, just like a gentle tip of the cap for just like being yourself. You're a weird theater kid that has a beautiful eye, has a real eye.
Don't lower your bar, Joe. The cinema is trying to beat us into submission to lower that bar. Do not lower that bar.
Not lowering
that bar.
But how about this? I go to the movies a lot, and sometimes people aren't as. It's not like a bar lowering. I know what you're saying. I guess I just like.
I get that. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just saying don't lower the bar.
This is like Yorgos's Black Mirror. The whole time I was like, this guy just wanted to make a Black Mirror. This sucks. But it was okay. So things I liked about it. One, Plemons. Two, he has very nice photography. He just does. I don't like it. And what he doesn't do in this, he doesn't do the fucking fisheye the whole entire time. At the end, when the movie is completely slipping through his fingers and he has no idea what he's trying to say, in the third part of the triptych, he starts going back to like, oh, I'm gonna bend the frame. Here's a little fisheye, and I'm like, Yorgos, you should have just made the first part of this movie the whole movie, and just made another 10 minutes and just like made that the movie. But anyway, he resists the fisheye for most of it, and I think that the movie looks very pretty, and there's a lot of very lovely shots and colors. That's just the way I feel. Third thing, I kind of liked the first story, Brett, and then I liked elements of the second story. The third story didn't work for me.
The third story is Emma Stone dancing story.
Yeah. And then the final thing I liked about Kinds of Kindness is the Eurythmics song. That's not really.
Okay.
He doesn't really get credit for that.
He doesn't get credit
but
for that.
It is a good song.
It's a good song.
When it played, I was like, oh yeah, okay, time to watch a movie.
Yeah, when it played over the opening credits, I was like,
yeah,
I was like, all right, I'm here. I'm ready to go. What do you got?
I'm trying to be nice.
Why are you trying to be nice? This guy is massively successful. You can punch up.
I'm trying to be honest. Is what I'm trying to do, because I can't just like come in here and start my like the screed same as always, because I was watching a minor work. I sort of like took minor offense to the gratingness of his sort of comedy and of his mind. I'm excited to hear you didn't like it. I'm not saying this is a good movie or a great movie, but I am saying that I liked it, and I hated parts of it. I think he is such a weak provocateur. Like, he thinks he's such a nasty little fucker, but he's such a fucking prude. I just like, he thinks he's twisting the knife. He's devilish and he's kooky, but I find him to be so lame. I like that he has an eye. I like that he has motifs. I like that he's obsessed with power and sexuality. And I like that he likes to use the same actors over and over. I just find that always charming in anyone's filmography. It just suggests to me that people like working with him, which just like makes me like him more. I don't like learning when people are like, he stinks to work with, is tough for me. Like, oh, Quentin Tarantino let Uma Thurman crash into the tree on Kill Bill. It's like, that makes Kill Bill less good for me now. That's sad, right? So it's like, I like that people keep going back to him. I guess he's like fun and good or whatever. But and I didn't find them, because it was like kind of a fuck you throwaway after Poor Things. I wasn't as like invested in hating it. I was just sort of along for the ride. I didn't see it at 10 p.m. My audience was, what's funny? My audience was there and they wanted to be raucous, but honestly, they were subdued, because it's a long movie.
Same happened to my
with
screening.
Very few sort of peaks. But I really think that Plemons was so good in this movie, Brett. I like the colors. I like the photography. I liked the idea of three. I know this isn't the first anthology film ever. You don't see them a lot. They're usually bad or they don't often work, and this one doesn't really work. But it had some exciting things in it. I thought Emma Stone and Margaret Qualley
they're
were
always good. They're always and like everybody's always good. Plemons is always good. Emma Stone's always good. Margaret Qualley's always good. Willem Dafoe's always good.
You're asking me how this movie was. They were in this movie being good, and I'm telling you, well, I don't know. I love Willem Dafoe, but I think I'll save this for basement takes. Like, it's kind of time to take our Willem Dafoe fucking thing down a peg, because I love Willem Dafoe. He's great, or whatever.
He's letting these free pass. No, and he's letting these directors like decide his thing in a way. Like he's like, I feel like he's almost devolved into like this like chess piece that these auteur directors just like deploy. Whereas I want like full fucking Dafoe. I want fucking energy out of this guy. He's letting these auteur directors use him as like a meme almost, and I really don't like it at all.
Yorgos is not Lars Van Trier. No. Like Willem Dafoe deployed in a Lars Van Trier movie has weight and heft. And in a Yorgos movie, Willem Dafoe's like he's a tool. Trifle.
He's a tool.
It's a joke.
Yes,
it's a joke.
And look, Joe, you're being what I mean? Like, I get it. Okay, I can sum up this movie like this. There was a group when I went. This was a 10 o'clock screening of a 3-hour movie. There was a group of like 6 people in front of me that were so hyped to see this movie. They were cheering at the Nicole Kidman AMC intro. They were fucking ready to rock. Right? These literally halfway through the second vignette, this whole group of people got up and left.
No.
And then that's around the time I realized that there was another guy that was fully asleep and snoring. And I was like, that sums up this movie. There was no reason to make and release this movie. Like, you're an artist, you're a director, you have infinite ideas. You need to select which ideas actually get into, like, which ideas become movies. This was such a fuck around, and I'm really like, I want my money back. It's that kind of movie. It's like I didn't get value out of this experience. I'm glad y'all had a little fuck around, and I'm glad you and Emma continued whatever the fuck your relationship is, but this was not a real movie. And Joe, this is not like I get your angle on it. I understand your angle on it, but I have to say, this movie even more than Poor Things exposes Yorgos as ultimately kind of a fraud and kind of a moron operating in a register that he is not capable of capitalizing on. This is like such poor man's theater of the absurd. I can't even explain. This is like, what if Harold Pinter got like hit in the head by a piano? This is like, what if Edward Albee published his like Apple Notes app as a play? What if UNESCO was just a total fucking fraud? What if Samuel Beckett, to quote Joe, was just lame? What if Samuel Beckett was just sort of a lame guy? It is such like
he honestly thinks he thinks he's UNESCO.
It's not. You're 100% right. Like, dude,
he is not.
Like,
he
much like Jeff Nichols found out he was not Martin Scorsese, Yorgos needs to be told that he is not Samuel Beckett or Harold Pinter. This is such bargain basement nothing theater of the absurd. Like, it is. It's just it's like the toothless fanboy version of theater of the absurd. It is like, it's because the thing that like he doesn't understand is that like theater of the absurd still depends on the interplay between specificity and abstraction. That you like Yorgos, to me, sees theater of the absurd as this like refuge where he can do nothing but then get credit for doing something, where he can he can constantly avoid getting to any sort of point, but get credit because like, oh, isn't it fun to see Emma drive the fast car? Yeah, it's fun to see Emma drive the fast car. What's the point of this 3-hour fucking movie, Yorgos? There's no fucking point. It's not like it's like theater of the absurd still requires nuance and precision and detail. It's not this it's not this like this place where you can constantly evade making a movie. And there was a lot of commonalities between Kinds of Kindness and Bikeriders. To me, it felt like two auteurs that were avoiding making a movie for 2 hours and 3 hours respectively. And I'm kind of sick of it. Like both these movies, I sort of wanted my money back at the same time that I encourage both these guys to keep making movies. But these were just such big like flailing fails in a way. Like there was just nothing fucking there. And I cannot do this like this dialogue he does where it's like it's so like theater of the absurdity, but like
I hate it,
but
Brett.
like without any like panache to it. Where it's just like I will have a double whiskey. Is a double so a double whiskey is the drink you're ordering. Yes, a double whiskey is what I will be ordering, and now I will be drinking it, and that's what I will be doing. It's like that. It's like shut the fuck up with this shit. It's nothing. That's nothing. That's nothing. Like you don't get credit for that being something because that's nothing. He's like a con man. It's like it's at this point. It's like is Yorgos like a? But look, I love The Favorite. I love Dogtooth. He can do the damn thing, but this movie is a fucking con. It is a con.
This movie is very a like epilogue to poor things. It's very like it's just a little trifle after the.
Well, it's literally
it's dessert.
Here's the thing. Look, and this is more of a basement take, but I'm going to put it on the main show. I don't know what the fuck you and Emma Stone or Emily Stone have going on. Like, I don't know. And I just don't care. It's not our business. But it's starting to, like, bleed into the movies now. Like, did you see this thing about how this whole movie originated because she sent him that, like she took a phone video of her doing the dance in the Bella Baxter outfit. And that's how we got the idea for this movie. And I'm just like... all of that would be fine if there was a movie here, but am I just like paying for you and Emma Stone to have this sort of like mutual masturbation abstract like fuck fest where you don't fuck ever? Like what is that? What is your relationship and why do I have to care about it? Make a fucking movie or don't.
It's the abstraction of theater.
That was a basement take. That should not have gone on the main. That felt too much.
Yeah, Yorgos is my least favorite. Sort of.
He's a fraud. Director.
He's not funny.
He's not there.
It doesn't have a lot to say, unfortunately.
And if you go back, like he came out of what
things is like Hillary Clinton wrote a movie about like feminist sexual awakening. It stinks. And in Kinds of Kindness, he says, "No, I'm not Hillary Clinton. I'm actually Trump, and now I'm crazy.
I'm bad. See?
I'm so. Don't forget about me.
Bad.
I'm crazy. Man.
I'm so bad."
You're not crazy, man.
I'll show a shot of a dog hanging from a noose. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I don't give a shit about your movies anymore.
I liked some of the shots very much. That's all.
Sure.
And then additionally, I'll say it again. If I was programming a Plemons retrospective, I would program this
Plemons crushes.
Excellent.
It's honestly
excellent.
It's almost vindicated by like cracking open a new chapter to the Plemons story. That's the only thing that justifies this movie is Plemons Plemons found like a new angle and a new trick.
So good.
And that is because it's almost like it's like the character he played in Breaking Bad, but instead of like doing the sort of like innocence of it all, like he's like evil but he's innocent of it. It's like he's leans into the evil of it all. He's like more like give us like can we get like Plemons serial killer movie next or something maybe like the only thing that makes this movie worthwhile is if next we get like the Plemons serial killer movie or something like that where Plemons does like American Psycho or his version
in
of
the
it.
next one
oh right, because he already announced his next movie because this guy just like is always making movies.
Emma's a CEO. Yeah, it was $75,000 per screen. He gets to make another one.
Great, congratulations! I'm so happy for you.
Emma
in
plays
my
like
screening.
a CEO.
Hey, guess what happened? Guess what happened on one of those screens? Half the audience walked out, and the guy fully fell asleep. Like fell asleep to an extent I've never seen in a movie theater before. Was snoring for I am not exaggerating. You like 2 hours. This guy was snoring for the second 2 hours of the movie. Snoring. Sometimes like the music would pick up and I was like, did he stop snoring? And then it would get quiet again. I was like, no, he's still fully snoring. He's actually snoring louder than he was before.
The first 80 minutes of the movie is okay, and then it gets worse and worse and worse the whole entire time, and it really ends with a fucking nothing thud where you are left scratching
fraudulence.
That's kinds of kindness.
Class action lawsuit levels of fraudulence. I'm gonna get together with the other people that made this movie 75 K per screen. We're gonna do a class action lawsuit. We're coming for your ass, Yorgos.
It was probably his like third best movie. I think it was his third best movie.
Go watch. He comes out of the Greek weird wave. Go watch other Greek weird wave. It's great stuff. He's the like fraud who made it big out of like, it's the classic thing where you have this like,
so how it always goes,
authentic film movement, local film movement, and then the one guy who's willing to who sucks, like makes it big. That's who Yorgos is.
Yeah,
that's Yorgos. Let's talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about The Exorcism. Let's talk about The Exorcism. Can I give you some background on this?
Yeah, take me away.
All right, because so I don't know if you're anything like Joe and I, when you found out that Russell Crowe, who last year performed in the Pope's Exorcist, which is, I think, Joe, you gave it the award of make 100 of these was the award you gave to the Pope's Exorcist.
I love Pope's Exorcist. It's such a silly, awesome horror movie. Make 100 of them.
So
please.
Last year, Russell Crowe made came out with the Pope's Exorcist, and then we found out that he had a new movie coming out called The Exorcism. And then when we found out that the two movies were in no way related, that Russell Crowe was doing back-to-back exorcism movies that had no correlation to each other, I don't know if I've ever been more excited in my life, for a kind of film event. That Russell Crowe is at the point in his career where he can do two exorcism movies that have no correlation to each other. It's not the same franchise. It's not a sequel. There's no relationship. And we're asking ourselves, like, did he forget that he did like the other one? Like, is this like intentional somehow or like unintentional? What's going on here? So this movie, to me, was less of a movie and more of like a hilarious puzzle that I had to solve as to what happened here. Now, here's what I think happened, Joe. Can I give you my theory on this?
Take me away.
Because I was very disappointed very early on. I specifically did not read anything about The Exorcism. I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't want to know anything about it. I was very disappointed to find out within the first like 5-10 minutes that this is not like a fun horror movie. This is like somebody's like meta horror passion project thing. And I was like, oh, fuck. That's not what I wanted. I wanted Russell Crowe to do like two genre movies back to back that were both about exorcism. Agree. And that's not what this was. So here's what's going on with The Exorcism. It was directed by a guy named Joshua Miller. And Joshua Miller is the son. He's a little frickin' Nepo baby. He is the son of the guy who played of Jason Miller, who played the priest in The Exorcist, who played the father, the main before Max von Sydow shows up. He's the original like priest in The Exorcist. So this is the son of that guy, right? And so he essentially made a movie that is like a behind the scenes retelling of The Exorcist, or a movie like The Exorcist. Because if you know your movie history, The Exorcist famously had a lot of like spooky shit, almost like Macbeth or something. Oh, sorry, the Scottish play. It had a lot of like spooky shit around kind of the making of it. And so this is the son of the guy who was in The Exorcist making a sort of meta horror about the making of The Exorcist. And this movie, The Exorcist, was literally, The Exorcism, I'm going to make that mistake 100 times. The Exorcism was originally called the Georgetown Project, right, which is where The Exorcist took place. So making that connection a little more literal, but that did not end up being the final title, because I'm sure the studio was like, you just need to like say what it is in the title so we can sell tickets. So it's like a meta horror about the making of The Exorcist. Russell Crowe plays this sort of like aging actor who had like addiction problems and kind of abandoned his wife as she was dying because of his addiction problems, and then now is trying to like resuscitate his career and reconnect with his daughter. And then so there's all this sort of meta thematics going on around that. What I think happened here, Joe, I'm not even really interested in reviewing the movie. It's just sort of like a boring miss of a movie that does have some fun performances. Russell Crowe's a fucking movie star. He can't help it. Adam Goldberg's in this. When's the last time you saw Adam Goldberg in anything? And he's just fully giving you Adam Goldberg. David Hyde Pierce is a lot of fun as a priest in this. So there's some fun performances. It's just sort of a boring nothing miss of a movie. But the bigger question is, why did Russell Crowe do these two, Pope's Exorcist and The Exorcism, back to back? Here's what I think happened. Because initially we were like, oh, you think like the way the movies are released, that's when they were made. But as soon as I realized that The Exorcism was this like passion project, I was like, oh, I bet that one's been in production for years. And sure enough, this like they announced Russell Crowe being in The Exorcism back in 2019. So this movie, The Exorcism, was supposed to come out first. It was like in production before The Pope's Exorcist. It had like Nepo baby passion project thing going on. It had a whole sort of idea behind it. The Exorcism was supposed to come out first. It got interrupted by COVID, production delays, etc., a lot of post-production delays. And so while Joshua Miller is going through this whole process of like getting The Exorcism on screen, Russell Crowe literally just banged out The Pope's Exorcist in like a summer, and it came out first is what happened. And so The Exorcism is just like, can you imagine how pissed Joshua Miller must have been? Like this like years long passion project. And then Russell Crowe, your star, your lead, bangs out another Exorcism project like over a summer, and it comes out before your movie.
By the way, which was a charming sort of like mini hit that's getting a sequel, by the way.
Exactly.
Everyone likes that one.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know what lesson to take away from that. Genre rules. Don't underrate genre. And also like, just because, I don't know. Because this is also like, movies like The Exorcism is where we should actually be having the Nepo baby discourse. Because like, if you look at someone like Margot Qualley, who's the daughter of Andie MacDowell, who's a Nepo baby, like, sure, she's a Nepo baby, but like, can you really tell me that there's like 100 better actors out there than Margot Qualley? She's a Nepo baby, sure. She's also earned it. She's a great actor. A movie like this, where this guy got like this guy, he's also like the half brother of Jason Patrick. His dad was this like famous Hollywood, or his grandfather was this famous Hollywood photographer. This guy is like old school Nepo baby, where he's connected in ways behind the scenes that you don't even know about. And that's how he got this pretty great cast together for this movie, and that's how he got them to do what is essentially this very self-indulgent passion project. These are the kind of movies where we need to be having the Nepo baby discourse, where it's like, man, this thing is fucking boring and dull, and the only reason it got made is because this guy's connected. So I ain't weeping for The Exorcism. It's funny to me that like it got overshadowed by The Pope's Exorcist, because I love that genre beat out a Nepo baby. That's kind of the lesson I'm taking away from this, and I love it.
I love that. That's a good lesson. The lesson I took away is Russell Crowe funny. Why? Okay, so that's like that. You told a story about why it would be annoying for the people involved in the production of The Exorcism. But Crowe, like, does he desperately need cash, Brett? Or did he love both scripts? Or does he really care about priests? Why did he want to do these films back to back? Any sort of any guesses? Like,
I mean, Exorcism is like Exorcism is like literally. I mean, look at the actual scenes that he was in. What is that? 10 days of shooting? That was like nothing. Like he's in an apartment and he's on the set of the movie in the movie. He like that is maybe 10 days of shooting. You don't have the I think he filmed all his shit for The Exorcism in 2019. COVID happened. A whole lifetime happened. A whole wave of shit happened. He forgot he made the Exorcism. He doesn't even know if it's ever going to come out. And then somebody new comes along with a boatload of cash and says, hey, do you want to be the Pope's exorcist? You get to ride a moped and we might have franchise potential here. You might get your equalizer. You might get your retirement money. And he was like, sure. I don't even think he remembered he made the Exorcism. Like, I don't think he it was a pre-COVID 10-day shoot probably. He doesn't even remember the fucking Exorcism.
That tracks. And that's
I think,
sort of
right? I think it feels like, yeah.
I thought that very well could be. I was sort of into this movie for a minute, Brett. Not because I thought it was good, but because I was sort of into it for a minute.
I wanted to like it.
I too was sort of blindsided by the meta framework where Russell Crowe's an actor who gets cast as the guy playing the priest in an Exorcist movie, and he's dealing with all this stuff, including that he was molested as a child by the priests, and his daughter, who works as a PA on the shoot, hates him and doesn't call him dad, and he's dealing with all this stuff. And then Adam Goldberg starts, like, he plays the director and is mean to him and is yelling at him and starts using these dirty director tricks to get Russel Crowe to be good at acting.
You're a piece of shit.
Movie.
Put it into the performance, you piece of shit.
I paraphrase, but at one point he goes, I can't even say it in good faith on this podcast, but something along the lines of like, did those priests, fuck some good acting into you or something like that.
No, sorry, Adam Goldberg is
sorry,
but that's what we love at it. Like props to Adam Goldberg for always being the actor to nail those roles of like, no one has leaned into being like the shittiest people ever on camera more than Adam Goldberg, and he nails it every time.
He's fun.
He's
David
so
Hyde
fun.
Pierce plays the
dude. He's great. He's great.
He plays the priest on set, who's sort of the priest advisor for the film, and I like David Hyde Pierce in the movie, so I was going along thinking this is bad, but okay. Kevin Williamson was a producer on this.
I know. That's where the Nepo Baby shit comes in.
And I was like, for the first 30, 40 minutes, I was like, man, maybe they should have gotten this crew to direct the next Scream or something, because maybe the Kevin Williamson tree has some juice on it. Because my whole thing is I hate the new Screams. I think they stink. So I was kind of into this movie. And then something happened that I was like, okay, I need to stop. I need to mentally sort of like recalibrate for the second half of this film. There was one part of Brett, I forget what the circumstance was, but a character is walking through darkness, but they're holding like a giant Fresnel light instead of like a flashlight to like light the scene. And I was like, this is brazen. This wouldn't even be in a student film. He's so brazenly holding a giant Fresnel light to light his face for this scene instead of appropriately sort of making this realistic. And I just said, okay, this is getting a little too silly for me, kind of bad. It's a jump scare palooza. It's meta horror. It's
the jump scares are edited so poorly, though. I was like confused.
Yeah,
the jump
really
scares
bad.
are either edited like the jump scare like the jump scares almost happen too quickly in a way where you don't even like react because you're just like, oh okay, like, or there's like a weird delay before the jump scare that like telegraphs it so much it's not a jump scare. Like, this guy doesn't know how to edit a horror movie. It's just like it's formally bad. It's just like it's like the script is bad, the editing is bad, but you do have these incredible performances throughout it, which is why I think this is like Exhibit A in terms of Nepo Baby shit is like this guy did not deserve. This guy does not have the chops to have this cast, basically, is what I took away from it. It's a bad movie with some great actors in it.
The guy from Avatar. What's this guy's
Sam
name?
Worthington.
Sam Worthington's in this movie.
Joe, Sam Worthington, and I just gave it away there, but Sam Worthington, who plays like a pretty like significant character. He's like one of the main actors in the movie. And I checked this later on IMDb. Do you know what his character's name is in this movie in IMDb? Joe. There's no last name. There's no like, and it's not like he's a mysterious person. Like, he is a character that should have a full name, and his name is just Joe. And that, like, there's this weird like carelessness, but it also feels like a passion project. I don't know what this movie was, but I do know that I want to see more. Here's what I will say. Russell Crowe.
See more what?
Russell Crowe is not anything to do with this movie. Russell Crowe is entering his like late stage Oliver Reed phase. You know when like Oliver Reed got like big and like he was just like he was like drinking himself to death and like like Russell Crowe is getting into like because this is the thing you don't see a whole lot anymore. Like late period Orson Welles, late period Oliver Reed, Russell Crowe.
Depardieu.
Yes, Russell Crowe is there physically, and like the face, the instrument, the tool is still there. Like it, like give this man some fucking roles for that kind of a actor. Yeah, like, come on, who's got their fucking like Oliver Reed script still lying around? Let's fucking do this. Russell Crowe could have a very, very interesting like late phase, and I really hope somebody wakes up and gives him some roles that are not the fucking Exorcism.
How old do you think Russell Crowe is?
It's a good question. I think like 58.
Yeah, I think he has about 15 to 20 more years of movies in him, Brett.
Russell Crowe's 60. I almost nailed it.
He's 60. Yeah, yep. I think we could have some amazing Crowe in the next decade.
Now is the time because I'll tell you what, you have it or you don't. Doesn't matter how shitty the script is. It doesn't matter what his lines are. It doesn't matter how it's shot. The second that guy turns around and you get the first close up of that face, that is a fucking movie star. That is a like fucking movie star. That is like so much comes out of that face. So much comes out of it. That is a movie star, and now he's like, give that guy some roles. Give that guy some roles. And actually, you know what? Oliver Reed, what Oliver Reed's last movie was, ironically enough, for this conversation?
The Insider.
Gladiator. He drunk himself to death on the set of Gladiator. Famous story.
Is that true?
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
Wow.
I think they actually had to like cancel some of his like scenes because he literally.
You're kidding?
No, he drunk himself to death in a bar in like, I don't know, fucking Corsica or somewhere. No, read it. It's amazing. He literally like
Brett. That's how you want to go.
That's how I want to die. Is on the set of Gladiator 2. I guess they already shot
Drinking in Corsica.
Gladiator 3. Yeah. No, there's some crazy story, and look, we're not like, it's a disease and he died of it. I'm not trying to like, glamorize it, but these old stories are incredible at the same time. You have to acknowledge it. There's it's something about how he literally challenged like sailors to a drinking contest on the set of Gladiator and like drank them all under the table to some insane extent, but like went too far and then just like and died. So
that's not good, right?
I know, right? But like,
awesome.
But where's
that
the line?
Awesome.
How do we ride the line here?
I tell you
between
guys
saying this is like not good, but what a story?
That rules.
And it's Oliver fucking Reed. Some people, that's how they live. They fucking flame out. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm sorry, but that unfortunately is very cool. All right. I'm not saying do it.
All right.
I'm just saying like it happened, and guess what? Now the story is good.
I need to talk about Inside Out 2 again.
On the main show. Yeah. I mean, this
is this basement takes, do you think?
I don't know what you're gonna say, but I think we've put on a great show here, and I think Basement Takes needs juice. And
all right,
I don't know, but I'll let you decide because I'm not even there. I'm in Jersey.
You're in Jersey. All right. Let me do. I planned this for the main feed. I also
then do it.
Okay. All right. So look, this will be the last thing, and then we'll go to Basement Takes if you're on the Patreon. Last week, I was very hard on Inside Out 2. Okay, I called it a helicopter parents manifesto. I said, keep your smug secondhand therapy speak away from the kids. I said this movie is going to give kids anxiety, not help them deal with it. And to be fair, I said that on Basement Takes, our Patreon-only after show, but then Carson leaked it to the general public. Good job, Carson. You're a fucking star. And boy, oh boy, Joe, did you see this? Did you see the blowback I got on TikTok and Instagram? Did you see
I don't know if you ever
the torches they came. The freaking I felt like the Frankenstein's monster, these people coming with their torches.
Ever gotten as much engagement? Like you were Brett. You got hundreds of comments.
The vitriol.
Hundreds of
vitriol
comments.
I got.
You were a bad guy.
I was I was like a unifying bad guy for like a certain type of audience online. I was like a unifying. They were like rallying around me. There was literally one comment where a person used the pronoun we, and they were like we, and I was like, oh, you all think of yourselves as like a collective that's like coming for me. This is like I've like unified a group of people here. That's how vitriolic it got.
So are you here to apologize?
Okay, all right. So here's the thing. The Pixar adults were not happy with me. They let me have it. I get it. I understand it. I read all the comments. I thought a lot about this. I listened. I reflected. And I'd like to publicly and formally here on the main show now, on Movies Baby, with all of my heart, I would like to introduce a new segment called the Double Down. Margot, play that theme song. Double down, double 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 down, double down, double 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 down, double down, double 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 down, double down, double 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 down. Joe, sing along. Double down, double 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 down, double down, double 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 down, double down, double 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 down, double 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 down. First, a definition. When I say Pixar adults, I don't mean adults who like Pixar. Sorry, Joe, do you have a question?
No, I'm so sorry. Please go on. My apologies.
When I say Pixar adults, first of all, because I want to be absolutely clear about this, because oh my God, they got so in the weeds on TikTok with this shit. When I say Pixar adults, I do not mean adults who like Pixar movies. I'm an adult who likes some Pixar movies. There's a lot of great Pixar movies. Ratatouille is a fucking masterpiece. Coco is incredible. That scene where the guy who's dead in the afterlife gets sung away to the other afterlife where he disappears. You know what I'm talking about, Joe. That scene makes me fucking cry every time. There's several Pixar movies I like. And when Pixar is at their best, they nail this impossible tightrope walk where they are making a kids movie with kids movie tropes, but they are lacing in these adult themes in such a way that it's like it's the best when they nail it because like I can like Pixar is the only type of movie that I can literally like watch with Sandy and we're like both on the same, like we're both enjoying it at the same level, you know, maybe for different reasons, but we're both, it's like movies that you can share with kids. It's such a fucking blessing. Right. I love when Pixar nails it. I love it. But when you walk a tightrope, eventually you're going to fall. Sometimes you're going to fall. It's a freaking tightrope. You can't be perfect all the time. And when Pixar goes wrong, and I'm talking artistically, not financially, because we know how well Inside Out 2 did. It saved the freaking movies, blah, blah, blah. When Pixar goes wrong is when they take the kids for granted, when they betray the genre that they built their empire off of, when it becomes more about the adults and the adults reliving and reimagining childhood or clinging on to childhood, when it becomes more about adults escaping adulthood, when the adults think that they are the primary audience for the movie and that the actual kids are sort of an incidental secondary audience, that's when you get Pixar adults. And that's when you get a movie like Inside Out 2, the movie version of the parent that drops you off at school in a Mercedes SUV and tells you in earshot of all the other kids, hey, just remember, honey, don't let your relentless anxiety overpower your capacity for joy and you'll be fine, I promise. I'll see you at 4 after hockey practice, but don't dilly-dally because we got to get to your piano recital by 5. Lean in, mental health, bye, got to go to work. And I can already hear TikTok calling me a cretin, but TikTok, I'm begging you, I need you to hear me on this. I need you to understand me. You are fucking brain dead, okay? For example, here's some quotations that I got. Here's some comments that I got from TikTok. These are direct quotations, Joe. Listen to this, okay? And please hang on with me here. These are actual comments I got on TikTok. No Pixar movie has ever been a kid's movie. Pixar has never made kids' movies. They make movies for adults that kids can also enjoy.
Those two different comments?
Those are two different comments, and I have a third for you here. And this is my favorite one. I saved the best for last. There's plenty of kids' movies meant for kids.
Wow.
Joe, An adult said this to me on TikTok. There's plenty of kids movies meant for kids, i.e. like stop.
Rot.
Like what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? I mean, do I have to even like say anything? Like I didn't like I sat down an hour ago and tried to like write my like typical like little bitchy monologue jokes about this. I don't even know what to say to this. Like this is a crisis. This is like a cultural crisis. There's plenty of kids movies meant for kids. Your own semantics are betraying you. Like what do I have to say? Listen to yourself. Like my lack of a coherent response right now doesn't mean you're right. It means you're so wrong. I don't even know where to begin. I don't know what to tell you. You're so lost. I can't even draw you a map at this point. I don't understand where you went so wrong. Like why can't you just be normal and like you can like a kids movie. Why do you need to like own the kids movie? Why do you need to like possess it and transform it? Why can't you just like are you afraid of adult movies? Like are you afraid of your own are you afraid of actual movies? Like what why you're clinging to this with it's like a pathological clinginess to kids movies. Like I like Ratatouille. I also like fucking Pasolini. Go watch some adult. Like, here's the thing. I think this is it. You're afraid. Like Pixar is safe. It's a safe island because like you can just like kick the kids off. You can like it's like you can like get on the theme park ride and it's like cutting in line at a Disney land ride. Like you're cutting in front of the kids because the kids can't say anything. It's pathetic. But what I'm asking you to do is like just dip a toe into some adult movies that are for adults. Dip a toe in, see what happens. Start there. Just start to develop.
Do you have a suggestion?
Develop a wider. You know what, Joe? I actually was like, I thought like going into this, I was like, oh, I'm gonna write like, if you like Cars, you should watch this. If you like Incredibles, you should watch this. And then I was like, why am I doing this for these people? Fuck these people. You need to do it for yourself. Because a big part of this is not being like force-fed, not being coddled, is like do it for yourself. Go find some movies that are not kids movies that you relate to, and then you will have a better perspective on these Pixar movies, okay? And again, none of this is saying that like you can't like Pixar movies as an adult or they don't have mature themes or sophisticated themes. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is where we get to a point where people are telling me on TikTok that there's plenty of kids movies meant for kids, but this is not one of them, or that Pixar doesn't make kids movies. That's fucking insane. Do you know why I know that Pixar makes kid movies? It's because my son got this in his fucking Happy Meal. That's why I know that Pixar makes movies for kids. It's because there's Inside Out toys in fucking Happy Meals, and because the number one demographic on opening weekend was kids under 12. The number one demographic on opening weekend for Inside Out 2, the reason it made so much money was kids under 12. But what did those kids under 12 get? Was a movie they didn't really that wasn't really for them, because adults have decided to co-opt this fucking genre as their own because they're afraid to move on in their lives. They are stunted. And I don't know if that's because of, I don't know what that is. It because of COVID? Is it because the economy's fucked? I don't know why. But we need to get better. We need to get better as a culture. This fucking self-infantilizing cannot go on. And again, this has nothing to do with the sophistication of Pixar movies. This has to do with a cultural fucking rot where people refuse to grow up, okay? Stop this Peter Pan shit. Go watch some real adult movies, and then the Pixar movies will be even better in retrospect. Holy shit, Joe. Why do I have to say this? Why do I have to say this? And again, and here's the thing. Nobody's going to agree with me online. I'm going to get the same fucking shit.
I agree with you.
Thank you. If you agree with me, will you come to my defense on these posts, please?
Sure. I'll come to defense of you on every post if you post what you just said on the internet. I'll defend you.
Here's another thing that somebody said. Bro, everybody's calling me bro. I guess I give off bro vibes. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Bro walked into a movie about emotions and didn't expect to see a teenager deal with their emotions. I'd like to focus on the phrase, a movie about emotions. What the fuck are you talking about? A movie about emotions?
The characters are emotions.
Every movie is about emotion. White Chicks is a movie about emotions. Manchester by the Sea is a movie about emotions. Every movie is about emotions. Pixar adults, literally except for the Bikeriders. Pixar adults are the equivalent of Trump voters or people who just started following women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark. They are, and I would like to coin this phrase, aggressive amateurs. They have strong, unequivocal opinions about a medium that they have very little understanding of or context for. A movie about emotions? Do you just read like and there's also this plague of like simping going on where everybody has become like you don't work for Pixar. You don't owe them anything. You don't have to do free publicity for them. Just because a like corporate entity tells you they're doing something, you still have the freedom to analyze whether they are doing it effectively. Everyone is just saying this is a movie about emotions because that's what the movie tells you it's about. Maybe it's a movie about emotions that doesn't really present emotions effectively. Maybe it's a movie about emotions that fails in its mission to be a movie about emotions. Like, all of these things can be true. You don't have to just mimic or parrot the fucking press release or the fucking log line of the movie. You're free to evaluate whether it does it well or not. What the fuck is wrong with people? Grow up, be independent. I am more of your friend than Pixar is because I'm being honest with you. Don't treat me like the enemy. This dumbass with fucking burger glasses on is more of a friend to you than Pixar will ever be.
Bro walks into the movie about emotions, doesn't expect to have any emotions.
A movie about emotions as opposed to what? A couple more, Joe. Joe, and then we'll shut this down. Double, double, double down. Double down. Double, double, double down. You thought you were going to shut me up? Are you fucking crazy?
They didn't say they
Are you fucking crazy?
They didn't think that.
They did. There was a couple comments that were to that effect.
This is going to shut you up.
Yes, yeah. Should have left it in drafts. Silence this motherfucker. The one I loved the best was a couple comments that said, "Bro is projecting." I would love to know what you think projection is. I would love to know what you think the word projection is.
Oh, it's like you're not in touch with your emotions.
You fucking brain-dead morons speak in memes. You don't understand what your words mean, and you have no context for the discourse you're having. You're fucking brain-dead, but it's not too late because, again, I'll say it once, I said it twice. I am more of your friend than Pixar is. I'm telling you the truth. I'm trying to have a real conversation with you. You don't have to mimic memes. You don't have to mimic press releases. You don't have to do unpaid labor for Pixar. Let's have a real conversation about this movie. Why are you so afraid to potentially not like it? Also, Joe, you know the one comment, and literally, we don't have a big social media following. Our show's not been around for a while. These posts got hundreds of comments. Hundreds of comments. You know the one literally I read every single comment. God, literally Amy at one point was like, "You're not still reading those comments, are you?" And I was like, "I'm sorry. The answer is yes." Do you know the one comment that I did not see in all the hundreds of comments? I did not see it once. You know what that one comment that I did not see was?
I agree. I wasn't trying to be funny.
Okay. I did. I had a couple movies baby loyalists come to my defense.
Okay, nice. Right,
the one comment I did not see was, "Hey, you know what? My kid actually really liked this movie. You know what? My kid got a lot out of this movie." I did not see that once. What I saw was a bunch of whiny, fucking infantilized babies who were so mad that I fucked with their Pixar fandom and it broke their fucking dumb little baby brains. Grow up. And I don't mean grow up and stop liking Pixar movies. I mean grow up and stop standing for Pixar to the extent that you cannot sustain a single criticism of Pixar. You fucking whiny babies. Grow up. And that's the double down. Double down, double 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 down, double down, double 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 down, double down, double double bubble down. I think that's an episode.
I think that's an episode. I mean, Double Down, The Exorcism, box office. It's all there, man. Fantasy draft.
Here's another thing somebody said to me. So you're saying children don't have emotions to understand and deal with?
Oh, my God. All right. Well, everybody, you can find us.
Good news for you. I'm not remotely saying that.
On patreon.com/moviesbaby.
God forbid we teach children about emotions.
5 Ys. That's patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys.
Separate comment. God forbid Disney tries to explain emotions to kids.
You can find our show.
My favorite kind of movie, the explaining kind.
You can see our exclusive after show for Movies Baby, Basement Takes, where we really spill the gosh darn movie tea.
You thought this was hot. Wait till you get the Basement Takes tonight.
We let it all hang out on Basement Takes. Come check us out there only on Patreon every Thursday night. And you can see our other amazing show for video game lovers, for video game heads out there on Fridays. We're streaming live with Hot Dog and Gamer Boys. Play the movies, folks.
We're having so much fun on Fridays on Hot Dog and Gamer Boys. That is so much fun. Twitch, watch it live on Twitch. Anybody can watch it, or video replay exclusively on Patreon.
It's all happening on the Patreon.
And if you're on Patreon, hang around for Basement Takes in just about 10 minutes here. And then, next week, Joe, next week.
It's our big 4th of July spectacular. We have 3 bangers, or 3 things worth talking about. We'll see how much of bangers.
Quiet Place Day One.
Day One.
Kevin Costner's the movie that ruined his life, Horizon, American Saga Chapter 1, and Annie Baker's directorial debut in film. Obviously, in legendary playwright in film, Janet Planet. And next week, we are going to be live on Wednesday night, because Thursday is July 4th. So we'll be live same time on Wednesday night, 6 p.m. on YouTube, and then the episodes will come out on Thursday instead of Friday next week.
Well, I can't wait. I'll see you there, and I'll see you.
I'll see you in 10 minutes for Basement Takes, baby.
At the Basement Takes.
Bye.